onto the computer. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm so excited. Heather and I are hoping you can see us both, but we're not going to know till the end. So I'm Maria Evans, and I'm so excited to get to share with you some questions I have been asking Heather. Can I interview you? You're just so amazing and remarkable. And I just have loved Heather since the second I met her. One of the cool things about leadership is the friendships that you develop. And Heather opened up her home to me when I was traveling to Stacy's. And if you don't already know, the God Thought cards, it is Heather McFarland. So, and of course, yeah, I love my God Thought cards. So, okay, we're going to get right into some questions. And that is because I have just admired Heather, and I learned about her Mary Kay journey and how amazing she built such a remarkable, amazing business as a consultant. And so I'm like, jump on a Zoom with me. I've got to interview you. And doesn't she just look fabulous? Her earrings, yes, I'm so excited. Okay. Heather, do you want to say hi before I just start jumping in?
Hello. From Edmond, Oklahoma. I am honored to just partner with you, Maria. And I too, we're going to make this a little duo here. And I too am looking forward to sharing your story with my women, because, we all have different stories. And I think that's what's so amazing about Mary Kay is that there are brilliant women spread all over the place, and we can all come in with our own gifts and talents. And I just can't wait to ask you some questions so that we can share our brilliance and share your brilliance, and just knowing that everybody's path can be different and you can still have success. So it's a wonderful thing.
Yes. Awesome. And that is the purpose, ladies. So if you're plugged in, you're listening to this, we want you to be able to listen for tips and tools that you can use to grow your business and be successful. And that's what I just loved when I found out more about Heather's story, was the things that she did along the way that made her so successful. So grab a pen and paper, be listening for some tips. You might hear something completely different than another sister sales consultant, which is totally fine. So Heather, my very first question is about the unraveling of your story. And so could you share, like, when you started Mary Kay, where were you in life when Mary Kay came into your world?
Okay. Well, so I've been wearing the product since I was a teenager, because I had awful skin as a teenager, oily, acne, the whole bit. And my mom had a friend at church who kind of, she did the party when I was a teenager, and I got on the products. And then when I graduated early from high school, dove straight into a retail management, like managing stores at the mall, got promoted through that. And when I found myself really like looking at life going, is this all there is? I was about 23. I was married, and I had made my way through corporate retail, and I was traveling a lot. And I just woke up one day and I was not able to help the people that I was working with. And I didn't like that. There were just some things that I was really discontented in my job. And so I knew that I loved the product. I understood retail. And I got in my rental car one day from one of my jobs, and I drove about 7 hours at the end of a work day to where my consultant lived. And I called her and that was before cell phones. So this is 30 years ago, you guys. 30 years ago. This was before cell phones. So I called her from the hotel and I said, hey, I'm going to be there. I don't know how long it's going to take me, but I'm coming. And I want you to tell me about this Mary Kay thing that you do. And so literally just showed up. She dusted off an old agreement, had a squished bug on it. That's our funny story. And I signed up 2 weeks later with a starter kit and a 3,000 wholesale inventory. And I wasn't sure that was going to be enough. I just understood that I was opening a store and I needed product. So I got in, and then I was traveling. So I left on Monday morning and I got home midnight Friday, and I was only home on the weekends. And so my husband kept going, all those boxes sitting in our dining room, what are we doing with those? And it was about 2 months later before I even opened my starter kit.
Oh, wow.
The boxes and the starter kit and all that. I was excited about it, but I just couldn't figure out how I was going to do it when I was only home. I was only home like less than 48 hours between travel weeks. And so I realized that I was going to have to quit my job at that time. In that season, there was no virtual, there was no any of the things that we have such amazing tools these days. And so I cold turkey quit my job 2 months later. I was working a full-time job and I cold turkey quit and jumped into my boxes. And I spent the first year in Mary Kay building a customer base, doing all the things that they told me to do. I built a team. I sold a lot of product and I love the product. And so I sold a lot of product. And that first year, I built up probably a couple hundred customers and I replaced my full-time income, selling the product, working part-time hours. And I'm like, this is awesome. And then I got pregnant with my first baby. And that first baby came very early. So that first baby was Zachariah. So those of you who know Zachariah, he came 11 weeks early, unexpected. My life got turned upside down. And then 2 years later, I had another one. And 2 years later, I had another one. So during that 6 years that I was either pregnant or nursing, we all know what that season of life looks like. And I was also juggling the very complicated special needs. So Zachariah was quadriplegic from day one. And navigating that, I was so grateful for that I had done what my directors had told me to do in working my business, because I had built a customer base and I had a solid customer base. And so then during that 6 years that I was kind of trying to figure out momhood and all the special needs stuff and all that, I took really good care of my customers. And here's what I want to throw in right here is that it is a lot easier to keep your customers than it is to find a new one. And although there's lots of people out there that want what we have to offer, if you take really good care of your customers, this business will take care of you for a lifetime. And that whole customers for life thing that Mary Kay promotes for us, that is real. And if you love on them and you service them, they will take care of you. The money will come from the sales and sales. And I literally have customers that have been with me from the very first year I was in. And that's something. And so take good care of your customers. And then fast forward. So when Zachariah was 6 and my baby girls were 5 months old and 3 years old, my husband decided he didn't want to be married to me anymore. And that was not how I planned that. And so, and during that time, those first 7 years, those first 6 years or so, I was a consultant. I was a top consultant. I was always the number one consultant in my unit. I was doing quarter sales. And what I want you to know is that even during that first year for sure, and then I made really great part-time money while I was taking care of the babies. But then when he left and I was a single mom of 3 babies, your choices get really interesting. And I was not going to I had dedicated to being a stay-at-home mom. And at that time, special needs daycares weren't even a thing. And I was not about to put 3 babies in daycare and work 60 hours a week to try to just put food on the table. And so God and I had a little chat, and he reminded me that I already had a job and I didn't need another one. And so I just got my pink trays out and dusted them off and bought a new beauty coat. And actually, I think I bought a new starter kit. I had my director get me a new starter kit, and I pretended like I was brand new in the business and working it again, just like I had done when I first came in. And here's the thing. We make such good money. 50% is good money, girls. And when you work the appointments like you need to, then you get to make enough money and you don't have to work 40 hours a week. I wanted to play with my babies. I wanted to raise my own babies. So I was very strategic and I worked and I made a living selling this product and working along the way. And so during that 7 years, I was a single mom for 7 years. And during that 7 years, I took care of my babies. I paid the bills with Mary Kay. And then along that time, in that season was when I became a director. And so then I got remarried about 15 years ago. And 15 years ago, my hubby Creel brought a couple with him. And then 2 years after we got married, we adopted a niece and a nephew. And I can't get much closer than that with my laptop, but that's all of them but the new baby. We have a new grandbaby. So now we have 7. So we claim 7. We have Caleb, who is a special needs adult also, and Caleb has Down syndrome. So we had the 2 special needs boys, we had 4 girls, and then another son. And that is a lot of activity. And what I've loved about the last 15 years is that I became a director while I was a single mom. And, there's just not a price tag that I could have put on being able to make a full-time income, working part-time hours, and having the flexibility to juggle all of that, all the craziness, all the special needs, all the 3 different sets of kids from 3 different backgrounds, and being able to navigate all of that. And the stability that Mary Kay provides, you guys, is really, it's just so uncommon, because we can make so much money in such a short period of time and then have the freedom to really have the lifestyle that we want. And that's what I think sometimes is this anomaly out there, that women are so used to not really being able to have choices that they don't really think it exists. And I'm here to tell you that you can have your cake and eat it too. And you can have your money and you can spend it and have time to spend it. And I think that's the essence of it. And now this season is so fun with grandchildren, and we've got 6 grandbabies now, and we've got 1 senior. My youngest is a senior in high school, and he's about to graduate. And then we have the 2 special needs boys that are still home. And so, I don't have an empty nest. I still got lots of stuff going on. And there just continues to be that flexibility and freedom that I've always had and I've always loved. And I continue to have a solid customer base, because as long as you keep working this business, it keeps paying you. And it's a beautiful thing. So that's the Reader's Digest version of 30 years, Maria.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I was taking notes because there's so many things that I heard that were just so powerful. And I mean, you just do not look like you started Mary Kay 30 years ago, because you look 20 years old. Like, you guys, her skin, like a testament to using the product. And I didn't realize you were using it since you were 16. So man, and you're probably one of those people that like does your night cream. Yeah. Okay. She follows the steps, people. use the whole system. So what I was hearing when you're initially started is that you recognized that you needed to make a change.
Yes.
And that you can be anywhere. And it sounds like that happened multiple times in your Mary Kay career. Yeah. Like that decision to, number 1, drive 7 hours, you guys, with no cell phone. This is back when people you had to map it out with a paper map. But it also, that showed me that you were hungry and willing. Mm-hmm. Right? Because you're willing to drive the 7 hours to go, find out the information about the opportunity, which is, when you're hungry and you want something, it's like there's a saying, the student is ready, the teacher.
When the student is ready, the teacher appears.
Right. And that sounds like that was one of those pivotal moments. Yeah. And then I also just hear this theme of resilience, but ability to just make a decision and be all in with that decision. For example, even getting started, you said, I want a full store. I know that I'm running a business. I need to service people. I'm going to get product to back me up. And even though there was that delay of boxes hanging out at your house for 2 months, when you did pick it up, you were all in, which is amazing. And then I also heard the joy in your voice about weaving this business around the children and the life, and not just, children just in general, but, exceptional children where, having Zachariah, even the way that you look at it, you just say it so easily, oh, he was a quadriplegic, what really goes behind the scenes of having a Down syndrome child and Zachariah, and then just regular kids who get crazy at, their teenage. There's joy in your story and joy in the journey. And again, so powerful. You just wove in such amazing points about take care of your customers. They'll take care of you. I mean, and of course your faith being a huge piece of that, that you just had to have a couple of conversations with God to be like, all right, I'm all in.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. So also hearing just you guys, the power of making a decision. That's also what I heard in your story was I decided here, then I built this customer base. I had this choice to make when things unraveled with your first husband, and then saying, oh, I'm going to turn to this Mary Kay and make it work. And then again, another decision when you moved into leadership. So can you share just the perks and benefits? Like, first of all, I just think it's phenomenal. You guys, she supported her family for so many years as a consultant and being able to move that much product. So number one, I want you to recognize that is possible. But if you do have leadership on your heart, I would love for you, Heather, to share just what was the decision moving from that consultant to leadership, and maybe some of the perks and things that you've just loved kind of crossing over onto that other side, making that transition from consultant to director.
Right. Well, first of all, I do want to lean into the idea that you can make a living selling this product and having a team. You can have a team. And so, back when I made the decision to become a leader, we actually had to earn a car first. And so you were required to build a team and earn a car. And so the money that came with selling the product week in and week out, and Maria, I engaged my children. So in order for it to work for me, they had to be a part of it. And so I had on the side of my refrigerator, these are some logistical things, but I think they matter because when your children are a part of it, I was in this to raise them in this, not just to go work and then spend time with them, which so much of the time we have to do. So on the side of my refrigerator, I had my star consultant pictures and my goals and what I needed to do. But I knew every week how much product I needed to sell in order to pay my bills. So sometimes we need those basic things to motivate us to kind of get the job done. But then alongside that, there were the fun goals and the prizes and things like that I was earning. But my children also we would cut out little pictures from the toy catalogs and little flyers that came in the mail. And they would have a goal that if mommy did XYZ and we met our goals every week, then at the end of the month or at the end of the week, we got to go do something that they wanted. And they had requirements for that. They had to stay in their room and play. They had to pick up their toys. They had, as they grew through the ages, they were little. When I first started this process, and I would do a lot of my appointments when they were preschool or during nap time, but a lot of times I had a babysitter in the back room, in their room, and I worked 90% of my business from my dining room table, because when Zachariah was little, I couldn't leave him for very long. And so I hired sitters to come in and stay at my house, and I would do a party at my dining room table. I always had guests on my arm when I went to my unit meeting, and I just had a system of, I did 3 to 4 appointments a week. I had party at meeting and a party on Saturday. And then I would do individuals throughout the week during nap time and during preschool time. And that was kind of my system for just holding those consistent appointments. And so, but when my first husband left, and you're looking at having to pay the bills and not really sure what that looks like. And I just figured it out. And then as they got a little bit older and I had a little bit more time, what I saw was that the bigger money was in the leadership. And I was, again, hungry. I was wanting more for myself. I loved being in a leadership position when I was in corporate America, but I wanted that flexibility that came with it, that I didn't have in corporate America. And so I just saw the bigger picture after I'd been to some events and was able to find a place emotionally where I was ready for that. And so 13 years, I was the consultant for 13 years. And so I just want to encourage anybody that thinks, oh, I've been a consultant too long and now I can't be a leader. No, you can decide to be a leader whenever you want, like today, because it is just a decision and it only takes a few months. And so once I made that decision, it was just, you do what they tell you to do. And I had a few fall offs. But I kept working and I earned a car and I drove a car for 2.5 years and then became a director. And I can't, at this point, Maria, there are so many benefits to being a leader. I can't imagine not being a leader. I can't imagine not being a sales director. Anytime somebody asks me the question, what would you do if you didn't have Mary Kay? I'm like, I don't know. I think I would cry because we have so many. I mean, the girlfriends. I know you in California because this leadership is amazing, and I get to be your friend, and I have so many more brilliant friends, just that pour into me, and this is not a competition. We literally get to strive to make each other better, and there just isn't that anywhere else, not like we have it, where you get to where your faith stands at the top of everything and filters through, and then you have women who truly do want the best for you. And so that's what I love about it, and the flexibility. When you make more money, you have more freedom and choices, and that's really the nuts and bolts of it. Is that more money gives you more choices, and we make so much more money in less time than most women do in corporate America, and that you just can't put a price tag on the combination of all that.
I love that. Okay, while you were talking, another question came to my mind. So I'm going to ask you just about your headspace and like what have you done to keep this emotional management going? But I'll give you a second to kind of think about that, because ladies, what I heard you say, Heather, was what a gift that you made a decision to enroll your family, because I think that is a really powerful tool that sometimes we don't think, like you perceive this as our business from the get-go versus this is mom's thing. I think sometimes the terminology side hustle doesn't necessarily embrace the fact that it's a community hustle with your family, and the community being babysitters coming in, getting the help that you need. Community being that your children, like you said, hey, you're staying in your room, kids, and cleaning while mommy's doing this, but that's helping me get the focus time that I need, and then enrolling them in the star prizes. So ladies, I really want you to hear that, because, and sometimes in the beginning, and maybe deep into your journey, you may have a spouse or a mom or a family member who is not supportive. And I think a lot of us do have that, and that's okay. But the more that you enroll people, which I feel like this is something that came very natural to you. It just sounded like it because you're like, oh, this was the idea. I put this on the refrigerator. This is how I picked out the prize. And you probably learned what worked and what didn't work and was willing to shift with that. But you guys, sometimes my husband was not on board at the beginning. When I started putting cash in his hand, it made a 360 change. Because I think so there are certain tools that you could use, right? Or when the kids get the star prize that you work towards, it's like, oh, click, I'm going to clean my room. I am a part of this, because we're ultimately getting what we want. So too, Heather, in addition to your headspace and what you were thinking or how you're keeping that emotional management with all the life things that happened. And if you do want to elaborate more on like how, it sounds so amazing how you did enroll everybody in what you were doing. Any other tips with that, I think would just be extremely awesome.
I think the biggest thing is that, anytime you're keeping your headspace in the right place, you have to stay plugged in. I, as a consultant, and even coming up through staying connected, whether that was attending my weekly meeting or getting on, even as a director now, getting on the calls, staying plugged in, learning the things that I do is I have a habit of being on In Touch 15 to 30 minutes almost every day. On my work days, I spend time mastering my craft. And it's not always, there's a lot for us to learn, and things are always evolving and changing. And so I always made a habit to stay plugged in. I think if you stay plugged in, then you stay energized. And, kind of going to your unit meeting is like you going to church. You either need a shot in the arm or a kick in the rear, whichever applies for the week, and sometimes you need a hug, so it just depends. If you're having a great week, then the meeting needs you. And if you're not having a great week, then you need that sisterhood and that camaraderie to inspire you. So staying plugged in is key. I think that the second thing is that the headspace and the emotional management for me has everything to do with my relationship with God, because I had to believe that the work that I was doing was going to be productive. I didn't want to work for the sake of just working. I wasn't doing faces for the sake of just checking a box and doing a face. I was doing a face or sharing the product or sharing the marketing plan for the sake of changing somebody's life, and because God directed me to that person. So one of my habits too is that I pray over my stuff. I pray over, who do I need to talk to today? Who on this list gets my attention today? Because with that juggle, with all those people in my family, all those people in my family, I didn't have time to waste. And I don't say that to, sound, I don't know, that sounds kind of, I don't know, high and mighty, I don't know, whatever, but I didn't have time to waste. And I didn't want to waste my time or anybody else's. So God and I had a very every day, who do I need to talk to today? Where do I need to spend my time today? What's going to be productive today? And I do that still to this day. So keeping in your headspace, stay plugged into God, pray about your work. And I still also to this day do a weekly plan sheet and a calendar. And my weekly plan sheet is on the other side of the room there, but still to this day, weekly plan sheet. Every day, every day, every day. When you plan your work and work your plan, you stay on track. And so that's the part there. And then I also think, Maria, that you said side hustle. I think sometimes that gets us in trouble because a side hustle gives us this idea that it's something we do when we have time.
And not integrated. Like what I hear you saying is this is incorporated. It was what you said initially with your kids. It was, I wanted them to be doing this together. You said it so beautifully. Like it wasn't just the enrolling, it was the culture of God first, family second, career third, the culture of empowering people, the culture of making people like that. It was a family deal. So yes, keep going on the side hustle because this is so good.
Right. So I think I was thinking about this is that side hustle is great. If you want a part-time job and you want this Mary Kay to be a part-time job, it absolutely can be that for you. But if you really want leadership, the mental shift and the decision that you make is that this is a business. And if you were opening up a beauty store down the local strip center, girl, you would have hours every day that you would be dedicated to being there, having the doors open, advertising, working in it, making those calls, working with those clients. There would be a dedicated process, and there would also be time that you blocked off to make that happen. And I think so much of the time one of the things that I get to say to my customers when I get a new customer is I say, I'm so excited for you. Do you know why? Because you will never have to look for another Mary Kay girl in your entire life, because I'm in this forever. And I know that I'm in this forever. And, I know that that's part of why my customers stay with me, because they know that I'm serious about this and they know that I'm going to take good care of them. But if you haven't made that decision, if you haven't decided that you're in this from now on, then that energy, your customers feel that energy. They're not really sure if you're serious about it, and it changes the way they interact with you. So that's part of it. And the other part is that when you're dedicated to something, you block off time for it. And you block off time. Just because I'm a mom, just because I'm a grandma, I'm a mom 24/7, I'm a Christian woman 24/7, and I'm a Mary Kay girl 24/7. It is part of my DNA. It doesn't mean I do it 24/7. It just means it's integrated into my life. And so I don't have to think about whether I'm going to work or not. I'm going to work because it's integrated into my life. And you just find that flow that works for you. But if you don't find the flow, it will not pay you. You'll be closing the doors to your business. And so treat it like a business. Treat it like you would be dedicated to it as if you were clocking in for somebody else. I still think it's amazing how we will work harder for somebody else than we will work for ourselves. And once you get past that, then it's easy.
So many nuggets of wisdom. Okay, while you were talking, I'm obsessed with this iceberg. I'm going to screen share.
Yeah.
Because what I heard you saying was that so many awesome things, but I just love that your one of your habit is praying over. I'm not just checking boxes to see faces. I'm praying over the women that God puts in my path or that are on my heart, because you want to make a difference in their lives. And that purpose piece was just so strong and powerful. And again, it's this big piece of this iceberg, because then you have the priority where you talked about, I have tools. Mary Kay gives us time management tools, and still to this day, the weekly plan sheet, right? That is a concrete tool that the company gives us, as well as you saying, I dedicate some time to be on In Touch. I heard that you are a student. You have this hunger to grow and learn, which helps you make progress. I also love the priority in the sense that you tell your customers, listen, this is a deal, like I'm in this. And I think they hear that conviction when they know they need a fragrance or a gift for Mother's Day, or a new skincare set, or they meet somebody in their life. They want to refer people to you because you're saying, you will never have to look for another Mary Kay lady again. I'm it. Like I'm in this to win it. And then you can see the top of the iceberg shows why you've been so successful at Queen's Court of Sales and successful as a leader, because the productivity and the profit is because underneath you've got the purpose and the priority happening. And so so many nuggets of wisdoms, ladies. I hope if you're watching live, you can always do #replay, but please put in the comments what you're hearing, because I have a bunch of notepads, a little stickies. I'm just exploding with these pearls of wisdom that you are sharing throughout your story. So powerful.
Well, how about you, Maria? I know we've shared a lot already. Give us a little nugget of your story. I know you've not been in quite as long.
Right. I've been building my business about 10, 11 years, and was very rough around the edges when I came in. I was kind of reflecting on this, that I have my degree in equestrian, so in horses, basically equine studies, and I was fresh out of the Peace Corps. So I had served in Nicaragua for 2.5 years, living, literally with bare minimum. Get this, you guys, my monthly income in Nicaragua was $147 US dollars a month. Right. Okay. And that's because too, it's a third world country, like this was also 12 years ago. Right. But I had just come back into America, and I was looking for extra income, and what a blessing that God put this in my path, because I was not a person that you would have approached about Mary Kay. I have 5 brothers. We have a blended family. So I was a very tomboy, very, I didn't have my ears pierced even. I mean, I'm wearing cute earrings now and this black and pink top, and I do have some makeup on. I still do a little light on the makeup, but what was really powerful about my story is my head and my heart needed Mary Kay. And it's the last place I would have looked or sought out, because it's people know about Mary Kay, but do they know about like the core, the guts of what we do? And the other really powerful thing is I was not a believer. So my mom had started drinking when I was pretty young, and I didn't have a strong role model, a female role model. My dad provided. And I just decided, how could there be a God? If my beautiful mom, who was an attorney, lost her life, just unraveled because of this disease of alcoholism. And a lot of people can relate, like who doesn't have dysfunction, whether it's the form of addiction or something else that's happening in your home. And because of that, I just became very broken inside. And one of the broken pieces when I came into Mary Kay was being agnostic. I literally had made a conscious decision at about 8 or 9 years old. There is no God. Like, I'm just not going to believe that there's this abundant, like amazing source out there. I just was like, no, how this God that seems so awesome, how could this happen? And what's so amazing, ladies, is that my senior held me with an open hand. And as I came into Mary Kay, I did what Heather did. I showed up. It felt awkward. The Mary Kay ladies were so positive, and I'd never been around women that were genuinely wanted to know me for me and had gifts and talents, this culture of powerful, positive women. I felt like I was constantly in the meetings thinking, this is too good to be true. When is this going to explode? Like, there's got to be a loose cannon. This can't be real all the time. But what's cool, like I was living at this negative life, and I felt like there was this big gap, but I was attracted to it. And even though I felt uncomfortable, I kept showing up because something inside of me wanted more, wanted to elevate my life, right? And so me coming in as a beauty consultant with every team member, there were lessons I learned, whether somebody jumped on board or not, a great customer, somebody that had to return some things. It was these layers of learning, and it built my confidence along the way. And then going to the meetings and attending the events and being in our national Stacy Space and Mary Kay events, that my heart got opened and softened to the point where 3 years in, Stacy, my national, was speaking at an event, and I was just in tears.
Aww.
And she'd shared that God has a purpose in our lives and he wants to do good through you. And I had a brick wall up with my believing in God. And some of the things Stacy said, I ended up having a conversation with her and decided to believe that day at a Mary Kay function.
Wow.
And so I look at our business as a ministry. And especially when you were saying, Heather, that each face is a person. It's a woman that you're investing in, and you never know when you're kind and you're sharing our product. And maybe you just saying, gosh, you look beautiful. You're glowing. Internally, you have no idea what effect you're having on people. And for me, I don't know that I'd be walking with the Lord, or I don't know. My heart had to be softened in such a way, and that layering process of being in Mary Kay. I'm so blessed that our company, and I'm really proud of our company, because we pray before events, and as much change as the world's seen, Mary Kay stands on our pillars of faith first, family second.
Amen.
They do not stray. We might get new lipstick shades and some product that you love might be changed out, but our core values and our culture is an undeniable pillar that will not change. And you can feel it when you call the company. I mean, that's amazing. So there's a little, like, my testimony as well.
Well, and what I heard that I do think that women don't realize, sometimes I think these side hustles, these direct sales side hustles, get a bad rap. They see the hoopla sometimes, and they don't understand how life-giving it is, how we watch women who come in, who, like you said, I was not the girl you would have liked, come after, but here your director held you, or your leader held you with an open hand, meaning that she took you on just right where you are, kind of the whole Jesus thing, come as you are, and we'll teach you how to walk, talk, and dress Mary Kay. And I think that's so beautiful how we watch women transform in this business. I have watched so many women come in and just become confident and become empowered to live and be who God designed them to be. And it is a makeup ministry. And, my senior director has always said that there are women who will sit at my table to try a lipstick and a cleanser that would never step foot in a church. Mm-hmm. Because they've been wounded by religion, or they are like you, just life has taught them that maybe God's not real. Mm-hmm. And yet we can give them a different view because they will know us by our love. And when we just love on women and we take them in where they are, and that's what I heard you say, you got taken in just as you were, and you felt it. And so you want more of that. Who doesn't want more of that, right?
Right.
So then how did you, as you came in and you were seeing those transformations in your own life, when did the leadership aspects for you kind of glimmer in your mind and go, okay, now I really want more than just, being a part of this. I want the whole thing. When did that happen for you, and what did that look like?
Yeah, it definitely started out slow because I think I was just questioning at the beginning, but it made sense for me from day one to build a team. So I knew from the get-go that it was, and because I had seen such a transformation kind of when that had started hitting, I realized like, I've got to be able to pass this on because there's other women out there praying for something like this. But I remember getting into my red jacket pretty quickly, and then my director, as much as she held me with an open hand, there were critical times when I felt a little like, oh, she said, Maria, how long are you going to stay in red jacket jail? She was, and it actually helped me the most. But at the time that she said it, it was like, it was kind of like, oh, I guess I'm not making progress. But I'm so glad so glad she was bold enough to say that to me, because it rocked my world a little bit, where I thought, how long am I going to allow myself to sit at this position? And I have a kind of a fun story because of the failure. I was in my red jacket for a season. I mean, a couple years, maybe 3 years, and then went into DIQ and was unsuccessful. Maybe submitted 2 or 3 times, and it did not come together that, being a red jacket and transitioning into that leadership role.
Right.
And then I remember being crying that it didn't come together. But what that led me to do was a season of digging in and really figuring out what was internally motivating me. It took some journaling. It took diving. It took some progressive work where I was figuring out what was going on. I didn't feel worth it. My self-esteem was really what was my worthiness. And so during that season, I became a believer, and that completely changed, because then I knew I was worthy. I'm a daughter of the King, right? But it was an internal thing of living in a dysfunctional home where I just had built up like, oh, it's how much you get done, and not just this internal work.
Right.
So during that season of not being successful, it was an internal thing. I had to do some personal work to figure out. And then when I submitted DIQ, we finished in 2 months. We earned an Equinox right out of the gates. And it was like a Mack truck. I knew I had this conviction. I knew where I was going. It didn't matter if you wanted to support me or not. I had a decided heart, and it was so much fun growing from 24 to 50 unit members really quickly. People could just feel the energy, the passion, the fire. But I knew I wanted the freedom. That's what was driving me, was the freedom of leadership, because I was working a full-time job as a director of admissions, and I wanted freedom. I didn't want to have to clock in. I wanted to be able to design my life. And so that was the driver. And then the magic elixir of that, acknowledging that I wasn't feeling worthy, working through that as an internal process, and also calling on my Mary Kay mentors and people, listening to the messages over and over that I am worthy. that helped me get the confidence to move into leadership. And another driving force was I wanted to be around the women that were directors.
Yes. Because did you have that kind of camaraderie in the job that you worked?
No. And okay, here's an interesting story.
And
When I
most women
was
don't. Yeah.
No, and my work had gotten, it was a private school, and it became really evident that, we need money, and yet we're rolling kids in, college students in a program. But what happened was I was building something on the side. So I started making decisions to not go in the lunchroom, and I would go in my car and make booking phone calls. And I took a lot of heat for that because my coworkers didn't understand that I'm building something else. And so they thought, oh, Maria's too good for us. She doesn't want to sit in the lunchroom. She doesn't want pizza. I mean, I had to be strong because you have that like social pressure of taking lunch with everybody and enrolling in the gossip. And they weren't talking about moving things that we were talking about in Mary Kay. They weren't talking about growth. They were just picking on each other's departments. Right. And so when I just said, I'm removing myself from this situation, first of all, I wasn't taking a lunch before. I would just work because I'm a workhorse. So I said, nope, I'm on salary. I'm carving out a lunch. And on my lunch, I'm going to be dialing. And so I would sit in my car. And it was those decisive moments of choosing lunchroom or car. What was really cool was about 8 to 9 months later, I was able to match my income and walk in and quit. And then all of a sudden, people were like, you're so inspirational, Maria. This is so powerful that you were able to build something and quit. But during the process, it was a lot of growing pains because people around me were uncomfortable with my decisions.
Right. Well, and what I hear you saying too is that, again, we're back to that. You made a decision. You made a decision that you were going to do what was needed. And so much of the time we don't look for those gaps to really make that transition. And so you were working your full-time job, but you still saw that, well, I have time to do this. And I think the thing, again, that's amazing about the money, I'm gonna keep talking about the money, is that you built to a full-time income, working your other job, but carving out those part-time hours. And then pretty soon those part-time hours take over. But you're dedicated to them. And, and the thing is that it was a short time, right, Maria? Like that season of really making that transition into the dedication to become a leader and get out of that job. It's short in the whole scheme of things. Right.
It is, especially when you look back thinking like, oh, it was hard on the day-to-day of like, everyone's, oh, Maria, we're getting sushi for lunch. Do you want to order in? And I'm sorry.
Not today.
Yeah, not today. Again, not today. But yes, when you look back, was it worth it? Absolutely. And that's a big thing. It's worth it to work.
Worth it. Because now what do you have? Now you have babies.
I have two babies.
You have two babies. How old are your babies right now?
Michaela is 20 months and Bella is 4.
Oh my goodness. And so can you imagine working that job still?
Oh my God. I would be devastated if I had to go into the cubicle and not, especially now knowing like how much love having a baby is and how much you want. Like I love that. Like right now I'm at my parents' house because Nana wanted to watch the kids for an hour and a half while I got to be with Heather. So they're happy. But then I just went to the park with them this morning.
Right.
I would have had to drive to work, take them to daycare, to some environment that I probably didn't want them in, or had to do a bunch of research and still feel like a control freak by not being able to be there. And then be in this cubicle office, or maybe because the pandemic, home trying to navigate, which would have been really stressful. Like I'm so glad I made the choice.
Yes. So it's worth it. It's all worth it.
Worth it.
Because again, the choices and the relationships and being able to keep our head in the right space comes from being surrounded by people when your conversations every day are with people who are supporting you and believing in you. And that's a constant. That's a constant in our world. Whereas women who are having to go to a job that they don't necessarily love and aren't getting that support, you come home from those kinds of jobs and you're just spent. You don't have anything else for your family. You don't have any energy left to And that's where I think that as Mary Kay leaders, I think that's where the beautiful magic of having that lifestyle is, because we are not, our job as Mary Kay sales directors, it doesn't suck the life out of us. It actually energizes us, and it gives you all the things you need to and want to be able to pour into those little girls. And you just, again, can't put a price tag on that. So anyway, well, Maria, you got any other thoughts as we wrap this up? Because I know we've kind of stretched it out a bit.
Yeah, we did a well, it's a 1 hour power training. That's what this was, ladies. Boom. So I think let's just leave on, maybe do you have a favorite Mary Kay Ash quote, or just a quote that has always stuck with you that you just love? We can each share.
Well, there's one for sure that I know my children would say, is that what you think about, you bring about. And we use that one all the time, because if you think you can, you can. And if you think you can't, you are right. And I know that no matter what you apply that to, whether it's to schoolwork, or whether it was to goals that my children had, or whether it's for you personally, you have to believe that it's going to work, or it just won't. And it's not just for one, it's for anybody. And I think there's so many Mary Kay quotes, but those are, that one right there is the one I love the most.
I love that.
And so, yeah.
And we're constantly reminded. And even when you hear it, you like, I know this information, but you rehear it in a different venue and you're like, duh, why am I thinking crazy thoughts? So what you think about, you bring about. And mine is, I need to find out who said this, but Stacy, our national, says it all the time. And that's, education is not the pouring of facts and figures, but it is igniting and inspiring your soul. Mm-hmm. And I've loved that, because I feel like that's the gift Mary Kay has given me, is that inspiring me to dream, inspiring me to notice the little things in other people when you're sitting across the table or on a Zoom with another person, and that moving them to just think a little bit outside the box, not just, here's the information. It's that inspiring. And we do that by telling stories, and you ladies are doing that in your businesses on a daily basis. And Heather, this conversation for me, I thought I was doing this for the consultants, but I just feel re-energized by having this conversation and talking about our journeys and the success. So thank you so much. And ladies, please put in the comments what you heard, because you may hear something completely different from somebody else, and it will help them by, oh yeah, there was a lot of nuggets of wisdom and pearls of advice. So please feel free to do that. You can do #replay. We would just love to hear what you heard. So thank you for joining us and listening.
Well, and Maria, thank you. Thank you for asking me to partner with you. And I love your story. And I love the activator in you. I love that you just go for it and go with it and wrap it all up. And it's a beautiful thing. And I love having brilliant friends like you.
Thank you. Thank you.